improved knee health, better coordination, and even improved memory? These are just some of the benefits that one may achieve by walking backwards regularly. But what if you could only walk backwards? Would these benefits become enhanced? Or would the task become so awkward and frustrating that you would lose your mind? Well, that's exactly what I wanted to find out, so I only allowed myself to walk backwards for an entire week. This is what happened, but you gotta focus. Thankfully, being able to work from home, starting this challenge off on day 1, my unexciting morning routine was not too difficult to accomplish walking backwards. The hardest part was perhaps walking up and down the stairs, but the basic backwards navigation around the house was not too frustrating yet. But I was just getting started and I had a lot of time left that I only was allowed to walk backwards. Check this out. A study at Harvard University found that people who intermittently walked backwards performed better in a short-term memory questionnaire compared to people who were forward walking or standing still. It's hypothesized that this could be due to the greater activation of the brain in order to coordinate yourself to walk backwards, or that possibly walking backwards somehow simulates the backwards motion of time, that somehow allows the mind to better recall past events. I don't know, they don't know. It's just an interesting study. Did I feel like my short-term memory improved? Well, as you'll see in the next couple of days, maybe in some ways it did. At least that wasn't too hard. Now, little tasks were starting to become slightly more frustrating, always having to turn the head to see where I was going. Hit that door. There we go. But I actually started to notice improvements in my coordination just by the afternoon on the first day. Workout time. I was already becoming more proficient going up and down the stairs. I also felt like my backwards motor skills were rapidly improving in the first couple of hours. And I was also more confident traveling greater distances without taking so many backwards glances. But most of these greater distances I was traveling would be nothing compared to the distances I would later experience in this challenge. Minor annoyances so far. Traveling up and down the stairs is a little tricky, but I feel like I'm getting the hang of it. The workout went fairly smooth, hit my foot once or twice, but nothing serious. Other than that, so far so good, but I really haven't left the house yet. It wasn't until I had to travel to the mailbox, which was over 100 feet away, that I realized only being able to walk backwards was going to be more difficult than I thought. Just for fun, the longest distance walked backwards in 24 hours, according to Guinness World Records, is 95.4 miles. Now, also according to Guinness World Records, the greatest ever exponent of reverse walking was by an individual, Trampoline L, who walked 8,000 miles across continents, taking over 1 year back in the 1930s. Just a bunch of junk mail. Oops. The rest of day 1, I stayed homebound trying to accomplish some basic chores, and I felt like my backwards coordination continued to improve throughout this day. Yo, I'm starting to adapt. I am starting to adapt. Effort and the accuracy on these steps, going backwards up, has significantly increased. Things were actually starting to flow, and I felt like getting better hour by hour was building me this confidence. But would this last, and what about when I needed to tackle things in the outside world? And dinner is served. I'm gonna go sit down and enjoy this, and just stay sitting down. But for the rest of day 1, it went fairly smooth, and I think I was just riding off the excitement of doing this silly experiment in the first place. And just when I thought I had a hang of this challenge, and it would go very smoothly from here on out, it was day 2. Looks like it's gonna be a beautiful day. Gotta time this out perfectly. Dang it, did not. Oh yeah. Easy. Ah, great. So I just twisted my ankle coming down these stairs. It's like I wasn't anticipating this last step, you know, and like this left ankle right here like twisted. But I don't think it's that serious, just a little annoyance, but hey, I gotta watch that bottom step. More coffee fixes everything. Forgive the cheesy reenactment, but yes, a bit of a minor ankle twist because I must have not anticipated the last step properly. Other than that, my activities on day 2 started to vary. Doing a leg day in the basement, staying true to the experiment, it took a bit of a dance to only walk backwards in order to properly re-rack the barbell when doing front squats. And then set 2. And this is where I started to undergo this strange stress. Because I put this rule on myself to only allow myself to walk backwards and not take a step forward, I made it in my mind that walking forward was so forbidden that I was constantly aware of never walking forward. And I almost had this sort of fear develop of walking forward in order to stay true to this experiment. Now don't worry, I quickly realized that trying to cut the lawn only walking backwards was a terrible idea. Nope. Gonna have to take a rain check on cutting the lawn. So I kind of wanted to go to the park, but I don't have a car right now. I got rear-ended and my car is actually in the collision shop right now, so I don't know whether it's gonna get repaired or totaled. Still waiting to hear back. In order to get to the park, which is a bit away, I would have to either walk or run there backwards, or I could take an e-bike or an e-board, and that's what I think I'm gonna do. Oh. You know when you're on a treadmill for like, you know, an hour and then you step off and it's like, whoa, that's what it feels like right now. Now just because I forbid myself to walk forward didn't mean I couldn't travel forward using other means, like a car, but I didn't have a car, so I used an electric skateboard. However, the sensation of finally being able to travel in a forwards-like motion actually ended up making me feel very dizzy. Made it. Gotta find out where I should put my stuff. Is it even gonna work? Finally making it to the park, trying to go on a trail jog, only running backwards. After about 100 meters into the jog, my legs started to burn, especially the quads and my shins. Perhaps the most frustrating part was feeling like I wasn't covering much of a distance compared to the amount of effort I was putting into this backwards jog. Now on a positive note, occasionally adding in backwards running or walking to an exercise regimen may help an individual strengthen the knee joint, as well as opposing muscles that aren't used as heavily in forward running. In fact, some studies even found improvements in knee arthritis from occasional backwards walking. My quads are burning. That was way harder and not as fun as I thought it was gonna be. Man, the logistics of this trip has just been a headache. I gotta stop complaining. It's beautiful out. Walking backwards makes everything like 5 times more difficult. I'm getting lazy. I'm not even looking behind me. There we go. Man, my feet are getting so sore. Now the fatigue from the short backwards jog along with the long travel back to the house and the constant backwards motion paired with the forwards motion of the skateboard travel and with the prospect of only being in the middle of day 2 of this experiment started to have my head spinning. I thought this would be more of like a physical challenge, but I'm noticing that it's almost more of a mental challenge always having to walk backwards. The sensation of always walking backwards, I'm like so dizzy. And then going like kind of sideways on the board, just like I don't know, I'm just like so dizzy right now. I'm also very exhausted and tired, a little bit frustrated. I don't know, I'm just kind of like, yeah. So I'm actually gonna take a shower right now and probably just lay down, honestly. Exhausted. Due to the exhaustion and dizziness, the rest of day 2 was pretty uneventful, just relaxing and making an easy dinner. I feel like I'm learning this place backwards. Like, it's like I know where things are, you know what I'm saying? Like the corners of stuff, like boom, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Still really dizzy though. After a night's rest, feeling refreshed on day 3, but still a lingering dizziness. On a positive note, I felt like my coordination was continuing to improve walking backwards. Now, I was really about to put my improving skills to the test with a trip to the store for some groceries. You know, I just like don't even feel like starting anything or just even getting looked at. But you know what? That's, yeah, whatever. Just go in, act normal, walk backwards. All right, let's go.
Was that backwards?
No, okay, like you get out, but then you turn, and now. So I was actually very confident walking backwards when it comes to skill set, but it was more so the social awkwardness I was about to put myself in that I didn't really feel like dealing with. However, just like many of these experiments that I've done in the past, nobody really seemed to care at all. Not a single comment was made. I was in and out of the store fairly smoothly, and it just kind of brought me to that point when it comes to social awkwardness. You know, if it's not hurting or harming anyone or anything, and maybe it's like something you want to do or wear or whatever, then whatever, you know? Like, just stop thinking about it so much. But yeah, a weird sort of confidence was developed going out in public at the store doing this walking backwards experiment. So on day 4, I decided I would take this to the gym. So I want to give you a little update, the good and the bad. The good, I feel like I've developed some serious skill for maneuvering backwards around obstacles, or maybe I'm just like remembering where everything's at, and like, I don't know, I feel like I'm a lot quicker, a lot more efficient. But still, if I could go forward, it would be at least 2 times as easy to go forward. So things are still frustrating going backwards. I'm just getting better at it. Also, I feel like my quadriceps are really getting trained. Especially when I'm going up the stairs or up any incline, I really feel it in the quads. Now on the negative side, I'm still getting very dizzy. If I do something for too long, like traveling, once I sit down, it's just like the room, it feels like it's spinning almost. And then if I get in the car and go forward, it's just like, whoa. Now speaking of making things potentially easier, something that just came in the mail. Let me show you. Glasses, but they have little mirrors. It's supposed to help you see behind you. Dude, that does not work that well. Oh yeah, right here. You gotta just do it. You gotta wear it right. Oh. Awesome. Thank you. No one cares. Watch how good I'm at it. So on day 4, finally making it to the gym and trying to use the backwards seeing sunglasses to look backwards, which actually didn't work that well. I navigated my way through the gym, doing my entire workout, traveling from set to set backwards. And once again, nobody seemed to care. Actually, one person did make a comment, but it was totally positive and just kind of funny. Yeah, pretty much just positive vibes. The only thing that was starting to really get to me was the increased level of dizziness that was not going away. I think because I was traveling more overall backwards distance on the later days in new territory that required me to constantly look over my shoulder, the frequent head turning motion along with that constant backwards sensation really built up and made me feel dizzier than ever on day 4. This on top of just having to cover basic distance such as walking back to the car, and then because I wanted to go on a jog, going on a backwards jog, the distance really started to feel like it was adding up, and the frustration of getting from point A to point B taking so much longer than walking forward really became apparent on day 4. Anything more than literally 200 meters and it's just like super fatiguing and I'm just dizzy, man. It's like I almost feel kind of like trapped, you know what I mean? Like I'm bound to this ability only, and it's like I just want to go forward, but I'm not allowing myself to. It's frustrating, let's put it that way. It's frustrating to know that in order to get back to the car, which is like, you know, 200 meters away, I have to walk backwards all the way back or try to jog backwards. And it's just like, I could easily just run to it forward, but I'm not allowing myself to. Discipline, that's what this is, discipline. But hey, I chose this. So I had to keep in mind with all of this frustration, I did choose to do this, so I would be relieving myself and being able to walk forward eventually. Aw, man. I'm backing up, look out. Now, after that adventure to the gym and a short backwards jog, I was once again completely exhausted, taking the rest of the day to pretty much relax, clean up, make dinner, eat, and sleep. Up these stairs like a champ. Good night. Day 5, while fairly uneventful, my skill for walking backwards, at least in the confined area of the house, was still significantly improving. In fact, I felt like navigating around backwards in the house was more effortless than ever. The only downside, once again, was the unrelenting dizziness that just always seemed to overwhelm me and lead me to even further exhaustion. Another interesting mentality to note that was present since the beginning of this experiment was what I mentioned earlier, and that was the amount of stress I was constantly putting on myself to not walk forward. And as you'll see soon, this will actually lead me to a weird state where I have trouble taking my first step back forward finally again. Now on day 5, the dizziness and fatigue and all of this strange mentality was getting so great, but I tried to stay positive, I powered through, and finally made it to the end of the work week. Sorry in advance. Here we go. I feel naughty. Whoa. Oh. What the heck? What the heck? Yo, I'm actually getting a little dizzy going forward. So I'm dizzy going backwards and I'm gonna be dizzy going forward. But I'm certain that'll go away because, you know, we're meant to mainly go forward most of the time. So it is day 6. That means I went 5 days only walking backwards, which is still a week. A work week. So sorry to cut off there and not go a full 7, but like, that was one of the hardest challenges I've had to do so far. Not necessarily like it was like the most physically enduring challenge, but like really mentally enduring. Like wanting to do something quicker, but being stuck in this backwards motion, frustrating. The sensation of that is like when you're in a dream and you're trying to run fast away from something, but you're like, you just can't. And then always looking over the shoulders like this, you know, it just kind of it just made things irritating, you know what I'm saying? They're just like, oh, come on, you know, and like the neck and all this stuff, like all the time. That plus the dizziness from always going backwards and then going like in the car or on the skateboard and then going like sideways or forward. Sometimes I felt like the room was spinning. Very frustrating, but I mean, hey, what do you expect? Now, based on the experience I just had when it came to traveling backwards for an entire week or an entire work week, it did seem like it physically challenged my quadriceps more than normal walking forward would, especially when going up on an incline. So going up a hill or upstairs, which I don't recommend going backwards up or down stairs necessarily. And in that aspect, it did seem like there's something about going backwards that might be knee fortifying to a certain extent. So maybe I will start incorporating some backwards like running here and there in a workout regimen. Obviously, to myself and to anyone else, I don't recommend only walking backwards. That's just a silly challenge that I did for this video. One more huge benefit I think came from backwards walking was a development in coordination and challenging the brain. You know how you want to like learn something to keep the brain fresh? Well, just the motion of traveling backwards, I felt like I was making new connections in the brain and the neurological motor system, whatever. Like I felt like I actually improved, which was, I don't know, it's kind of silly, but kind of cool. Hope you guys enjoyed this experiment. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a pleasure. Hope you all have a great day. Don't forget to subscribe. Stay tuned. More challenges coming out. Peace. I will see you all in the next video. Oh man, this is amazing. Oh, I'm so thankful to walk forward. Shoot. The joy of walking forward.